The Avengers have often been regarded as the mightiest of Earth's heroes, able to assemble together to face off any looming threat that may endanger the innocence of the planet. And while this roster of heroes has been expanded over the MCU's decade-long tenure, they still were able to stave off the threat of Thanos in Infinity War. Though Thanos is perhaps the greatest threat that the Avengers have faced in their careers as superheroes and protectors of the innocent, there is actually far more context behind why the Avengers actually lost in Infinity War. Directors Joe and Anthony Russo have gone on record to clarify what exactly led to the Avengers' eventual defeat in Infinity War, how it had been set up for years, and how these events would directly feed into the events of Endgame. So stick with us, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, as we delve into what exactly doomed the Avengers to fail, and how their greatest loss had been in motion since the beginning. The Russos have gone on record stating that the primary reason behind the Avengers' loss was their division and their lack of unity and preparation when it came to anticipating Thanos as a threat. At the time of the attack on Earth, the only official Avengers on the roster were Iron Man, War Machine, and the Vision. Seeing as Captain America and his secret Avengers were on the run, and Spider-Man had elected to remain a street-level hero, and denied membership into the team at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming. This not only split the team, but divided the remaining Avengers that sided with Tony during the Civil War storyline, seeing as Natasha later defected and joined Cap. Spider-Man remained in Queens, and T'Challa returned to Wakanda to deal with his own national issues, utterly crippling the team as a whole. Anthony Russo has gone so far as to call Cap and Tony, quote, the heart and soul of the team. For the two of them to have a falling out and an irreconcilable problem was really devastating to the team as a whole, end quote. Cap and Tony causing the rift between the Avengers in Civil War not only led to the loss that the Avengers suffered in Infinity War, but also led to their redemption arcs and reconciliation throughout the course of Endgame, which was the first time the two characters have seen each other on screen since their clash in Siberia. The Russos have taken significant strides in presenting heroes as flawed humans who are subject to the same failings and shortcomings as any of the rest of us, which is what makes them interesting, compelling heroes to watch on screen. The scene at the beginning of Endgame when Tony returns to Earth and confronts Cap is completely devoid of action or battle. Yet the human error and emotional turmoil that the characters go through is why we watch the MCU. These are the scenes that make the strongest Marvel movies the most compelling, as the films that largely forfeit grand action set pieces in exchange for hard-hitting human emotions are often regarded as the strongest entries that the MCU has to offer. Captain America's emotional journey in The Winter Soldier as he confronts his former friend is most often cited as one of the strongest character studies in Marvel's tenure, which was also helmed by the Russo brothers. Other notable entries include the emotional weight of Civil War, Black Panther, and Infinity War. Each of these movies stand out by having a human-centric storyline, and while they do have fun action set pieces with witty humor, the weight of the films come from the characters and the emotional journeys that they experience, showing the human ramifications of their actions and how the division of the team affected the outcome of Infinity War is a devastatingly real way to bring humanity to characters and who they are. At the end of the day, they are of course completely fictional, but it makes them feel real. It's also important to remember that the Civil War arc was not the only rift that led to the division of the Avengers. Thor, after retreating to Asgard at the end of Age of Ultron, was not seen again until Ragnarok, wherein he and the Hulk had their own cosmic adventures while Tony and Cap quarreled on Earth. Not only were the two de facto leaders of the Avengers split, but the core trinity of the Avengers roster was divided. And this rift didn't do anything to alleviate the already dire consequences of the Civil War storyline. In Infinity War, Tony was arguably the emotional center of the film, following his desire to continue protecting the Earth even though he largely found himself to be alone. Vision had been missing, Cap was nowhere to be found, Bruce was unable to bring out the Hulk, and Doctor Strange was in Ebony Maw's clutches after the first battle on the streets of New York. Yet Tony continued fighting on. He willingly boarded the Q ship and tried to send Peter Parker back to Earth with the intention of facing down the demon that had haunted him for the past 10 years, all alone. With the very same threat that he had foreseen since the Chitauri invasion of New York now on the horizon, Tony had no support, yet he fought on regardless. This is the emotional journey that makes Infinity War so compelling, as well as taking the time to develop Thanos as a compelling antagonist. Once again, the Russos show us us that it is the emotional weight of a film that makes it compelling, using Tony's isolation and Thanos' reluctant devotion to craft a compelling emotional storyline that we can connect with all too well. In Endgame, this all comes to a climactic crescendo as the Avengers are able to reunite, reconcile their differences, and come together to fight the battle together, in one of the most glorious action sequences in the MCU to date. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of the Russo brothers' explanation? Do you think that this was the key factor in the Avengers losing? And most importantly, if the Avengers were all together in Avengers Infinity War, do you think they could have defeated Thanos, and do you think this would have happened? I absolutely love the arc of the Infinity Saga, definitely from Age of Ultron all the way to Avengers Endgame, as we see the strife building between the Avengers and Ultron, and later they completely fly apart in Captain America Civil War, only to be defeated in Infinity War by a greater threat in Thanos that they could have stopped had they been united. And yet, learning from their mistakes and coming together yet again in Avengers Endgame for the climactic battle, where assembled, they managed to defeat the Mad Titan. Anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on the Avengers' loss in Infinity War and their triumph in Avengers Endgame? And of the two films, which is your favorite?